guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to Raid Lore Stories. Today's lore story is going to be for Nais the Shadowthief, brand new mythic champ for Raid Shadow Legends and the Sylvan Watchers. Let's check out his super form. I love watching them transform. Oh, he looks neat. I like that. It looks like, if we have any other World of Warcraft fans, watching this, there is a mount in World of Warcraft that this reminds me of. So cool. All right, so I haven't even read the story at all. I know nothing about him. He could be a really neat cosplay too. What do you guys think? I could probably pull that off. All right, let's read his story and check it out. Nais, before he was the Shadowthief, was a master archer who devised many techniques still in use nearly 1,000 years later. Massive shield walls, tiny loopholes, and thick armor were of no avail against his dazzling trick shots and supreme accuracy. But Nais himself had a terrible weakness. He loved finery and wealth and used his authority as an elite Sylvan Watcher, and the unqualified access it gave him to ledgers and treasuries to steal and embezzle. His constant craving for new treasures drove him to risk robbing the grand archives of the Sylvan capital, nestled amid the colossal roots of the first heart tree. There, Nais found treasures he'd only dreamed of, weapons made from solid lighting, bejeweled diadems, and the sproutlings of trees that would bear solid gold fruit. Among it all was a huge, mysterious corvid skull carved with a glyph Nais couldn't decipher. His eyes were drawn to it, and he surreptitiously removed it from its wooden pedestal. The moment he touched it, the glyph flared with soft blue light, and his fate was sealed. Nais heard a voice in his head, harsh and croaking, but strangely compelling. It announced itself as the Earl of Glinting Metal, a Fey Lord who had fallen upon hard times. The Earl, voice quavering with sorrow, told Nais that petty and jealous rivals had torn his body apart, flensed it, and bound his spirit into the skull Nais now held. Glinting Metal, discerning Nais's penchant for thievery from the circumstances of their meeting, promised to enhance Nais's senses and give him incredible stealth and situational awareness to match his outstanding archery, if Nais could only abscond with the skull and keep it by his side. Nais knew most Fae to be manipulative and capricious, but greed prevailed, and he departed the archive with the skull. True to his word, the Earl's magic empowered Nais by mere proximity. Nais snatched the earrings from the ears of noble elven ladies as they dined, rings from the fingers of sleeping princes, and precious seedlings of exotic plants from the heart tree's bloom keepers. Even the Vermilion Chamber, the Sylvan's elite order of witchfinders, could not apprehend him. As the bond between Nais and the Earl grew with each theft, so grew the Earl's mental dominance. Nais himself changed, his movements becoming even more flighted and flighty, and he took to resting in the tops of trees. Soon Nais was obsessed with the skull and its whereabouts, even strapping it to his head as a headdress so it was always with him. He believed himself fully in control. He was deluded. That feeling changed when Nais raided an armory nearby filled with a collection of antique arms and armor. Despite his supernaturally enhanced skills, he was swarmed by guards and their hounds, stabbed several times, and nearly mauled to death. But then, with a bright flash of the skull rune's soft blue light, the Earl of Glinting Metal took control over Nais. The elf's body warped and grew, and a burst of magical energy hurled the dogs away and blinded their handlers. When the light faded, there stood a huge, monstrous being, half crow and half elf, with huge talons and long, feathered limbs. The ascended Earl slaughtered everyone, and the wounds that Nais had suffered closed themselves when the blood of his foes fell upon them. Glinting Metal then pilfered absolutely every shiny thing he could find, snatching trinkets that Nais would never have bothered carrying, even the polished buckles in the dead guards' uniforms. Returning to the Mistwood, the Earl felt his control of Nais slipping, but knew that with each subsequent transformation, that hold would grow stronger. The transformation reversed, and Nais awoke amazed to be alive, and with his backpack crammed full of trinkets, rings, and other assorted metallic objects. He was shocked, but the whispering skull crafted honeyed words of reassurance, while reminding Nais that he now owed the Earl a light debt. The Earl's ambition grew, and he steered Nais further and further from the Mistwood. The Earl's magic nurtured Nais when the rhythm of his home faded, letting the elf roam far and wide. For over 100 years, the duo wrought havoc among the treasures and archivists of Teleria, and Nais relieved more and more on shifting into the Earl's mighty raven form to deal with any troubles. As time passed, the Earl sensed Nais's body aging and decided on a final climactic heist before he discarded Nais for a new host. They would rob the Arbiter herself in her very tower. The pair thought themselves concealed as they crept through the marble halls, but in truth the Arbiter had sensed the Earl's magical irritants and was watching their every move. After giving them the chance to lose their nerve and retreat, and seeing they would not, she appeared before Nais with a flash like lightning and a scowl upon her lips. He tried to unleash glinting metal, but the Arbiter bound him in golden light and pried the crow's skull from his head. Clear-headed for the first time since he grasped the skull in the Sylvan archives, Nais begged forgiveness. The Earl, too, pleaded severely for the Arbiter's mercy from within his bone prison. The Arbiter laid a powerful gaze among the two of them and bound them to a shard. Henceforth, she decreed, Nais the Master Thief would retrieve holy relics and missing shards on her behalf as a chronicler, protected from age and bodily needs within the shard whenever he was not deployed. As for the Earl, he was returned to Nais to continue their partnership and even took command of his body as he did of old, but the Arbiter drastically limited the Fae's control over the elf. Both Nais and Glinting Metal agreed to the deal. Nais was relieved and the Earl sullenly compliant. So far, the fear of losing his host or returning to captivity in an animate object has kept the Earl in line. Okay guys, this is not a story that I expected, right? So we have Nais is basically, he's a thief and he comes across this crown and ends up keeping it, and they basically end up working together then. So here's the Arbiter doing what the Arbiter does and binding them together in a shard. And so now she has Nais working for her, going around collecting shards and basically, you know, kind of being almost like Chronicler Adeline, right? What do you guys think for the lore story for Nais the Shadowthief? Drop me a comment down below, and thanks for watching.